Maybe you thought about making passive income with your artwork or with your digital arts and don't know where to start. Maybe you started and you failed, or maybe you're just wondering if it's too late. In this video, I'm going to be sharing my top 5 tips on how to create passive income with your digital arts. What's going on YouTube? This is JL Musi, and I'm going to be showing how you as an artist can create passive income from your digital arts. The reason I'm creating this video is that a couple months ago, I basically shared my experiences on how to make money as a 3D artist selling your 3D models online. And I got a lot of emails regarding that video. I got to the point where I was answering messages for 1 or 2 hours, right? And I decided just to basically look at all the content, all the comments that were made on the video, and really all the messages that I got regarding the video, and create a follow-up video answering those questions. So why should you listen to me about passive income? Well, I started selling my 3D models online, and that was my first successful run at creating passive income. It's just selling my artwork. From there, I pivoted into creating Kindle ebooks, and I created pretty much a successful publishing company. So let me quickly explain what passive income is. Most people in the world make active income, where they're basically exchanging their time for money. So I'll give you this artist example. If you're a studio artist, maybe you work for the video game industry, right? And you work at a studio, you're going in there, you're clocking in, 9 to 5, maybe you're on salary, but you're exchanging your time for money. So once that contract is up or once that work is done, you basically stop getting paid, right? There was just an exchange for your time for money, for a paycheck. Now, on the flip side, the studio is actually making passive income, right? They're actually putting all the resources, they're paying all the creatives, all the developers of the game up front, and then they go ahead and publish that video game and it sells over and over and over. So you could see the difference between somebody making active income, where they're exchanging their time for money, and then a business, right, that is actually having passive income because they already put all the investment up front, and then they actually get a return over time that lasts for years and years on end. So tip number 1 on how to make passive income with your digital arts is going to be change your mindset. Passive income is something that is new to a lot of people. It was new to me. Something that's not really taught in school. You have to be open to try something new and actually fail at it, right? Because passive income, even though sometimes it's glorified as something that's easy, making money is actually a skill that has to be learned. Just like you're an artist and you put all this time to get good at a craft to be able to earn from it, you also have to put in time to figure out the mechanism that actually makes passive income work, right? And really it comes down to the business side, or knowing that marketplace, or knowing the audience that your products are actually servicing. And if you're new to this, a lot of this stuff can actually be shocking and overwhelming. And a lot of times passive income is pretty much marketed as something that's very easy to do, right? There's kind of this machine where you pump out some content, and at the end of the conveyor line, just money signs come out. So just be ready to work hard, fail, and learn from those failures. The second part about changing your mindset is that when you're an artist, you're actually creating things that you like, right? A lot of times we just create content, or we create artwork that you think, or that just comes from the heart, or comes out of passion. But if you're actually trying to sell your digital products in a marketplace to make passive income, you actually have to create what's in demand, right? You can't just go off a whim. You can't just go what you expect is going to do good by your own metrics. You actually have to do what's called market research. And I'm going to get more into that later into the video. So tip number 2 on how to create passive income with your digital arts is that you have to know the market that you're servicing. So what does that mean? Well, for example, if you're a 3D modeler, right, and you're selling assets on the Unity store or the Unreal Engine store, you have to know who's actually buying your products, right? And if you think about it, those are going to be indie game developers that don't have a huge budget to house artists, right? Or 3D artists. So what you need to do is actually figure out what those indie developers are actually buying. And this is something where knowing the market and knowing the market trends will be exponentially valuable to you. Take a game like Angry Birds, right? Angry Birds was a huge success, and that spawned a lot of clones. So when these games, the games that actually sell the most, a lot of publishers, whether they're big or small, they'll actually try to emulate those games, right? And if there's indie developers looking to emulate those games, maybe you should be creating assets for those type of games, right? The games that are selling well. The games that are on the top 10 list on the Google Play Store, right? Or the Apple Store, or whatever store, maybe it's Steam, right? You have to figure out where that demand's going to be, because the reality is somebody that's purchasing your product is actually trying to make money. They're actually making an investment, and they want to see a return on their investment. So most likely before they buy your product, they're doing the same market research that you should be doing. So once you figure out the first part is who is your customer, then you have to hang out at the same spot they hang out, right? AKA Facebook groups, AKA Reddit groups, AKA forums. So if you're an illustrator or a cover artist, then maybe you should spend time where indie authors or small publishers are hanging out, right? So you need to be in those Discord groups, in those Facebook groups, and ask them, engage with that community, and get a feel for that market. Tip number 3 on how to make passive income with your digital arts is you have to be able to feel the pain of your customers. So me as a 3D artist, I know the pain of having to have a blog post, of having to have a portfolio website, of having to have a marketplace if I sell assets to house that, and also finding a community that's engaged and where I could look at other people's artwork, right? And I know a lot of you felt the same way of just going through outdated forums or having your own website. And there was a lot of problems for 3D artists or just digital artists. So then came along a website or a platform like ArtStation that pretty much just addressed all these problems, from, having blog posts to having a great marketplace to having job postings to having, great portfolio, and also just having a great community overall and having art competitions, right? So they listened, they solved this multiple problems for digital artists, and they have a great product. And many of us, and me included, actually pay ArtStation to be a pro member and just get some of the great benefits, right? So you could see that how listening to the pain points of a certain community and having a product that actually solves them can be exponentially beneficial for you. So how can this apply to an artist? Well, maybe you're a 3D artist and you want to create models for 3D printing and for people to purchase those. Well, not only do you have to create the art behind the model, but you have to make sure that model actually prints properly, right? You have to make sure that that model is able to be able to slice and process by a 3D printer. And maybe you could even create different cuts for that 3D model to be printed in different types of 3D printers and also different size beds, right? So once you understand the pain points of that customer base, you're going to be better suited to create a better product that's going to have more traction and sell better. Once you know your market and then you know the pain points of your customers, this is going to segue into point number 4, is to create what's on demand. So there are a couple things that you cannot create for a very few of, super high powered influencers, which is demand, right? So if you're starting out, you're probably not going to be able to create demand itself. What you have control over is things like the type of product you create, the quality, and which marketplace you choose to upload. But you actually have to create things that are actually in demand for them to sell in the first place. So how do you gauge demand in a product? Well, there's a couple ways. One is you could actually go and use a service, which I love, which is called Google Trends. Google Trends will actually track interest over time. So the more that your audience goes and actually does Google searches well, the more that these things are going to actually show that they're in demand, right? So if you take a video game like Fortnite, you see the exponential growth of that game. And if you are a artist that's actually selling products, well, then maybe it's a good thing to be able to emulate products for those types of games. Also, each platform actually has their own metrics. So whether you're using Amazon, where you're using, TurboSquid, or a platform like the Unity store, a lot of them have a bestsellers filter. So if you are trying to sell on these platforms, it's a good idea of just being able to see what's actually selling on that platform by using those filters. And don't just get stuck in a marketplace's metrics. Don't be afraid to look outside of that marketplace. So for example, running my publishing business, I went through the creation of hundreds of fiction book covers. And I actually found this crazy pattern where, it was the same stock photos in these book covers over and over again, right? And I was thinking like, man, if I was a photographer, this is the niche or the market that I would actually be pursuing. But as a client or a customer of these stock images, I would just purchase them via Shutterstock, right? I would just pay a small fee. Instead of just having a shoot for each book cover, I would just purchase a license for this. The photographer of these models was actually just selling over and over because, I would see them. Not only did I purchase these stock images, but a lot of other indie publishers and authors were purchasing the same type of images for the book covers to actually feed the demand of the Kindle self-publishing business. So if you are a photographer, don't be afraid to explore outside of Shutterstock or any other stock website and actually look at real marketplaces where your customers are actually selling the content, the finished content that they're using your photos for. And the last tip on how to make passive income with your digital arts is understand that there is no free lunch. What does that mean? Well, a lot of times I see artists or creators that put up digital products complain about the royalty fees. And I'm going to be honest, a lot of times it does hurt when you create a digital product, right? And you have to cough up, 50% or 60% to that marketplace. I've been there. I know the pain. But something that I came to realize later on, having my publishing company, and then later on just doing, YouTube videos, is that I found out that it's actually very hard, or it's a lot of work to actually get content and your name out there, right? And to do the right type of marketing for your products. And you have to understand that that fee that you're paying as a creator to use a platform, a lot of times part of it not only is of the infrastructure and the hosting of those files for that marketplace, but it's the marketing that you do, right? Because you could actually sell your digital products on a site like Gumroad, but Gumroad is not going to get as much traffic as a site like TurboSquid, right? Or as a site like the Unity store or Unreal. The more that that marketplace is actually spending on building an audience, on getting customers and getting you exposure, usually the more that they're going to charge. Now, there is a remedy for that, because at a certain point, people do create content and they get comfortable. But what happens with these platforms, and it actually happened with my Kindle business, is that, platforms get saturated over time. So you might be a developer, you might be a publisher, you might have content in a marketplace that's going good and dandy at one point, but then a lot of people find out about this marketplace, it gets flooded, and now there is a lot of supply and the demand stagnates or it goes down, right? And you have to figure out alternative ways on how to sell your products. And this is where you can start to pivot away from a marketplace that has a lot of marketing dollars behind them. And if you start creating your own following, if you start creating your own audience, if you actually build an email list, or maybe you start doing content on YouTube, or you start doing Facebook postings, and really just to cater to your audience of those products, you won't be solely reliant on the traffic that that marketplace gets you. That's all the time that I have for you folks. Thank you so much for spending some time with me and just really learning more about how to create passive income with your digital arts. As always, I appreciate your comments. I read your comments and I reply to them. So drop your thoughts in the comment section down below. Make sure to smash that like button. And also, please consider sharing this with any creative that might find value in the information. Until we meet again, folks, I will catch you next time.